So, by implementing 5S, we talk about daily schedules, we talk about weekly, we talk about monthly, and that's just on 5S. When you start talking about people, which is my answer to the cement question, it gets a little bit hard. You know, the daily 5-minute 5S cleanup and sustaining. You have to work a little bit more on that daily as a person. I would say give yourself 15 minutes to do that daily, and you start putting stuff in the bank. You start improving.
So I'm going to ask the team a question here. The solution for cement has been proposed, or the direction is this combination of people and I guess repeated training or repeated activities, always the same to improve. But my question then, if you're going to use that analogy, is okay, who's doing the mixing? How is this mixing started? Who's designing this mixing? I mean, Paul's talked about, we see a big difference in companies. I see a huge difference. So what is it that causes the mix to start? This might be my question for the panel and everybody else. What is it at Wright or wherever else that's allowing this mix to take place?
It's got to be top down. It's got to be the willingness to change and to see the need to change. Yeah, that's where it starts. You can't start from the bottom. You start in the middle. You can't start from the bottom. You can't start from the middle. It's got to start from the top. If it's not supported, you're not good from the top, and it's not going to success. It's not going to succeed.
You guys are telling me I'm up. But I do have a response. Do you have another person?
Yeah, I'm with FedEx, aircraft maintenance specifically. And we've been very fortunate in the fact that our senior vice president is one who actually brought lean to our operation from another company. And the chairman is very supportive of it as well. Our lean journey is 8 years into what we found is the sustainment portion of it is we've got a lot of support at the senior management level. We have a dedicated group of lean practitioners, either individual contributors or the first level of management. And in between the senior vice president and first level management is where the lean problem exists. Is because you've got managers who are focused on their operation. And they tick the box, so to speak, that I've got X number of lean practitioners, and in order to support lean, sometimes these folks have to be sent outside that manager's organization. And that becomes a problem for the city resources that you need in your operation to go support someplace else. So our lean directions are in between the front level, the lean practitioner and the senior vice president, and getting that level of management support.
Sounds like he's the mixer. He's the blender. And as Dave pointed out, it's important to have the top management support to drive those two elements. I'm fond of John Cotter, a Harvard author, who wrote a book, a novel, if you will, in the early 2000s called Leading Change. And the second element of the leading change process is a catalyst, kind of like the epoxy and the catalyst that forms the epoxy. And he maintains if you do not have a burning platform, then your change process will be mediocre and peter out. And I've been fortunate to be able to use that in practice. And sometimes it's difficult, especially in a well-run business, to find a burning platform, to find a catalyst that folks can rally around. But you can do it, and they exist everywhere, particularly the competition, almost always. So yeah, this is leading. I'm a firm believer in engagement in people as the cement. And it kind of leads me to ask and pose the question, how do we measure employee or associate engagement? Used to be, okay, number of ideas generated, used to be many suggestions used to be? How many teams did you participate on? And how many of your companies would you say have a fully engaged workforce? We hold that question for a minute, just to give you a little bit of other background. On various trips to Japan and spending time with Toyota, Denso, Toyota, different companies, and observing the employees at the end of the day, shift is over, the clock is ticked, and they all got together in their teams and weren't paid for the activity that they did after hours or before hours or during lunch. And my sensei asked me, can you do this in the United States? And I said, not a chance. It's like Fred Flintstone, the bell rings and you're gone. And coming back to the United States and helping to design programs to put this in place, it was important to, yes, we know what the industrial engineered standards are, but it's important to build in additional time in the workplace to be able to engage all associates. When they know that's there, they know there's time for them to do that, it's much easier. But I want to go back to my question. Sorry, I rambled a little bit. Back to the question. How do you measure engagement today? Would anyone like to offer?
And company we work for, Simmons Foods, and we measure the number of ideas that have been submitted, but more importantly, that's the number of ideas that have been implemented. We also look and measure, we have a database where it's a Google database, people type in success stories. And so we look at the number of postings to that database on a weekly basis. And so that tells us that our organizations, we feel better about posting success stories. But the one that we concerns us is there are probably 13,000 postings on that database. There are only about 12 failures. And so there's still fear in our organization saying this went wrong, and to share that.
As Yoshino mentioned, learning from failure is almost more important than learning from successes. It's a good story. Anyone else care to share? How do you measure engagement?
I'll step in. I was talking to Yoshino-san yesterday, or the day before, and it was curious what he told me about how he measures the success of engaging the employees of a company from his viewpoint. And of course, it's a Japanese viewpoint, but he's been doing this at Toyota for years. And what he told me was kind of remarkable. He said he could tell in an organization or in a factory, when you look at somebody and smile at them, if the employee smiles back. Very simple thing he uses. Does the employee smile back? Do they feel that you're not interested, that you're part of the organization, they're part of the organization too? So this was an observation he made, and this is how he assesses, you might say, success of employee engagement. A very remarkable observation. I've had his part in it.
Yeah, this is a qualitative measure, not a quantitative one, but I think one of the most exciting ways for me is back when I was actually in industry and walking around the plant, talking to the employees. One way I measured engagement was you go around and just ask people questions about, well, what's going on, what are you involved in? And if people are excited and they start talking about the projects they're working on, and if you can go around and see that that's pervasive through the organization, I think that's one of the most exciting ways to measure how people are engaged. It's just a conversation and seeing the passion in their eyes and the excitement that's there.
I don't know if we finished that blue thing, but we were talking about the leadership, and I think back to a conversation that Michael and I had about an episode that he went through where there was a failure in the lean program that he experienced. He can maybe tell you about more than I can. But he mentioned an interesting word, and that was the word humility. And so maybe you could expand on that a little bit and tell us about what your experience and why you use that word.
Well, in the interest of brevity, I won't go through the whole story, but it was a firm that was applauded. They had accolades from the early 2000s where they had won awards for being very, very good. AME, CME, it was a Canadian company, had applauded them. They were acquired, there was a management change, and they lost their true north, if you will, but they also had a tendency to rest on laurels. We can't get any better, is what management thought. So the true spirit of continuum group that was ingrained in this company, they did a lot of good things, invested, got awards, and I really began to lose it. I was retained to go in and help discover. Discovery is what it's about. Discover what the issues were and how to help this particular firm get back on track. Flashing forward, the president, after about 2 years or so working on this, came to me and said, I've lost my humility. One of the key elements of lean and lean culture is humble servant leadership, character-based leadership. And he said, I recognize now that we had lost that, and it'll never happen again. And a number of programs were put in place, such as establishing principles, Shingo-based type principles, and reviewing those periodically and looking for ways that they manifest themselves every day to ensure that even if management changed again, they would not go back and say, we're the best we can be. And as a matter of fact, they were so invigorated that they won a number of awards again. And this time, instead of hanging them prominently on the wall, they put them in the drawer and said, that's nice, but let's keep going.
That was reinforced this morning with Toyota's example of the recall and the attitude of the upper management at Toyota. And they let their success go to their head, I guess. And that was an obstacle to finding where are our problems and how do we get better.
So, any questions or any comments on that? Your experience in the humility business?
We got a question?
I ask a question. As we continue to drive our organization to get better and better, how do you keep the employees engaged to where when we got that North Star, we're never going to be that perfect supplier to our customers? How do we keep them engaged to where they know that they're never going to get that destination, but keep them driving towards that destination, knowing they're never going to be good enough? Getting feedback for how to continue to drive that.
Well, I'll take a stab at it. You know, I don't know how many of you here, and I don't know when the Toyota Kata thing is, but I think, you know, one of the things that Toyota Kata teaches, and we believe it's an important element of the process in sustaining lean, is that, you know, and there's a lot of elements here, engaging senior management. Obviously, in any good company, they have a vision of where they're going as a company. And they may not know exactly how they're going to get there because we never know the road that's going to take us there, but we know where we want to go and we start that journey. And so you ask, well, how do you keep people engaged? If you focus on the end and you're never there, and it's with continuous improvement, you're always getting better, you know, and you never ever reach the end. But what you've got to do is you've got to set targets, intermediate and short range targets, and have a path that is visible, that people can see progress towards. And when you get to a target, you celebrate that, you know? And so people see progress. That's what keeps them energized. That's what keeps them engaged. And then once you get to that target, you set a new target. And so it's that discipline and having really clear sets of goals and targets within the organization. Everybody understands what they are, the metrics are visible, you're tracking them, and people can see you making progress. And ultimately, those baby steps lead you to the vision. And upper management sees progress along a broader continuum of things. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's my view of it.
I have one thing I'd like to ask is in addition to that, maybe Ty can answer this one too. Yoshino-san talked about the stretch goal. So how important is that in the planning process? The stretch goal, the goal that can't be accomplished. How important is that in the planning process for the ocean community and so on and so on?
I have a quick comment. If I might ride along on what was just said, I had the honor of serving Amazon for a little while, and like them or hate them, love them or hate them, there are both schools here. They set 0 defects, 0 missed shipments as a goal. Everyone in the corporation, all 65,000 people know that, and it's reinforced every hour. Now, obviously they don't reach 0 as a goal, but one facility shipping 4 million packages a day might have 12 missed shipments. Jeff Bezos is on the phone talking to the particular associates who are in that operation, asking them what we can help, how I can help you do it better the next time. It's an absolute intense feeling. And it's positive. Bezos is relatively positive about that, but everyone there knows it's 0, and they know what they do every day, and it's a stretch goal, no question. But every year they get a little bit better at it, even though they're growing like crazy. So it's a common glue as well, because it's a common goal for everyone. Very intense.
Any other comments about that? Any other comments or questions? Yeah.
Maybe I'll add.
Based on my time in industry and working with them since, I'd like to propose, take a stab at the cement question, that the cement that holds those tools together is culture. And the thing about culture is things, the thing about cement is it's really a combination of things. But really, if you go back a layer of culture, what you got under there is values. So if your company has a value set of innovation, growth, are they people-oriented, risk takers? That's really the framework that builds the culture that supports or cements those tools together.
You mentioned metrics and goals earlier. One of the challenges I was given several years ago was to save the company my salary. Unfortunately, the context was negative at the time because it was during the economic issues. But despite that, I took that challenge and continued to find ways to save my salary through continuous improvement initiatives and things of that nature. Have you or anybody else in this room tried measuring that kind of metric with employees, and how was that perceived? Was it a positive thing or a negative thing?
Okay, so the question you're asking right now is, have they had experience saving money and the effect on employees? Is that
Yeah, challenging individual employees to find a way to save the company their salary, whether it's through continuous improvement or design improvements or things of that nature.
okay? So this is actually a frequent question, I think, because a lot of companies are looking for cost savings from lean. but that does happen. So what's the view here from anybody, the panel, on the success of being able to save your salary in the case of proven activities? Anybody have any success at that?
So the question I would have is, what happens if you don't save your salary?
Yeah, that's why it was a difficult challenge to propose, because during that time, layoffs were happening across the board in many businesses. So everybody was scared, but I wondered if that was something that other companies did during different times, and was that a positive thing to try to do? I think if it was done at a different time, maybe it would have been a positive experience for employees to actually see, I'm saving my salary, I'm helping the company reach their bottom line, and we're all profiting and their bonuses. But I don't know if that's.
My view, and I'm going to stick my neck out here, to answer your question, no. That's not a positive thing to do. It's poor leadership. And if the leader of the company